Take a chainsaw to a tree, that's pretty intentional. Whether they knew they could do it or not, is the question.
Get up under, get up in the bed.
I didn't know until I had the direction in front of me.
Yes. Mine's with the wild black lab mix. And she, thing was a trip, but she could not. If she saw the sky get dark, she's taking off. It doesn't have to even be like that stuff. If she just saw the sky get dark, she'll take off.
Unless it's a designated.
Well, PJ used to not be scared of firecrackers. They used to charge at them, get them. As when she got older, because she was 13 when she died. By her last year or two, she was scared of the loud noises and stuff.
48-inch.
Yeah, they just like us. Stuff that we used to get. As we get older, it gets on our nerves.
2 weeks ago, ground came out the top of it and landed on the house.
On your house? Oh, no.
Well, I'm getting
Put a
another
couple
one.
holes in the roof, so we're going to get that repaired.
No, I actually don't want a puppy. I want a dog.
And that's all the trees want to do eventually. Yeah. I mean, I'm all for
I want a dog, but I want to go through the treatment and everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you do anything before?
2 years old.
Eventually,
Yeah.
to me, it just makes
They're still a little crazy, and they're still training.
Yeah, it was. We always dug in.
Could be a
Were you?
train some
Yeah.
Limbs fall every year. Limb fall. Calling
Yeah, so we were nomads now, so we had to actually go find something on our own. We decided to go to Litchfield, just because we hadn't been in Litchfield in 25 years. So. Yeah, it was $4, you get 40 of them.
I have some questions on this.
We didn't, when we were down there, we never went down. About 3 years ago.
Were you working in?
Now I remember why we were down
roads, the land gets annexed, the roads will be city roads.
Yeah.
Like 607 lots.
Everybody ready? Good afternoon. We will call to order the July 2018 City of Columbia Planning Commission meeting. At this time, I'd like to welcome all Planning Commission members, staff, and guests. I would also like to ask that everyone turn their cell phones and PDAs to the silent or vibrate mode. The administrator will now proceed with the roll call.
Mr. Cone,
Here.
Mr. Dolphin,
Here.
Mr. Frost, Ms. Hartz,
Here.
Ms. James,
Here.
Ms. Mandel, Mr. Stickemeyer,
Here.
Mr. Tupper, Mr. Waits.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to briefly review the meeting format. Applicants with requests before the Planning Commission are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time should include, but is not limited to, an overview of the project, case history, and any pertinent meetings held regarding the request. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant, such as attorneys, engineers, and architects. This time limit does not include any questions asked by Planning Commission or staff regarding the request. Members of the general public are given the opportunity to address their concerns in intervals of 2 minutes. The administrator has a timer and will make presenters aware of when their time has expired. The Planning Commission reserves the right to amend these procedures on a case-by-case basis. The consent agenda. The Planning Commission uses the consent agenda to approve non-controversial or routine matters by a single motion and vote. Examples of such items include approval of site plans, annexations, and street names. If a member of the Planning Commission or the general public would like to discuss an item on the consent agenda, that item is removed from the consent agenda and considered during the meeting. The Planning Commission then approves the remaining consent agenda items. The administrator will now read the consent agenda.
Item number 1, approval of the June 3rd, 2019 minutes. Item number 2, which is comprehensive plan map amendment and zoning map amendment for pending annexation, which is 1.10 acre portion of the 300 block of Clemson Road, TMS number 25700-02-03, which is a request and recommendation to annex, assign a land use classification of urban edge mixed residential, and assign a zoning of general residential. The property is currently classified as mixed-use corridor and zoned rural district within Richland County. Item number 3, which is the 100 block of Shop Grove Drive, TMS number 16200-04-31, 16202-01-01 and 02, and 16202-03-01 through 04. And this is a request for approval for group development signage for Shop Grove. The properties are zoned M1. And then lastly, a street name request within the Northwood Villas at Wood Creek Farms, formerly known as Eastwood Villas, and that street name request is for Dormy Lane. The consent agenda items 1 through 4.
Thank you. Do any commission members or guests wish to have any items on the consent agenda removed and placed on the regular agenda? All right. Is there anyone who wants anything else removed? And what we'll do is 2 motions. I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Let's see, with one motion, right? Or 2? Because you won't be on one. 2.
You can do one motion.
One with it and one without.
One with all the items except for item number 2.
Right.
And then do item number 2.
All right, so I'd like to get a motion to approve the consent agenda entirely.
Mr.
You-
Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda entirely.
Yeah, because then we'll come back. Am I right?
And that's with Mr. Waits recused.
Yeah.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. First motion is approved.
You
That's
don't need
the
a
whole
second?
motion,
Yeah, so,
right?
yeah. So that's gonna take us to, item number 5.
Okay. Well, that's on the regular agenda, right?
Correct.
Okay.
You've already
We're
approved the
done with
consent
that.
agenda with Mr. Waits
Okay.
recused on all of the items.
So consent agenda is approved.
All right, so that's gonna take us to, the regular agenda.
We're now going to move to the regular agenda. I would also like to remind everyone when they come forward to please state their name clearly before speaking. So we will now continue with the regular agenda.
All right, that's going to take us to item number 5, which is a comprehensive plan map amendment and zoning map amendment, which is 1.42 acres on Joyner Road, 1528 Joyner Road, 6817 Deloach Drive, 6809 Deloach Drive, 6801 Joyner Road, 1503 Joyner Road, 1509 Joyner Road, 1515 Joyner Road, 1521 Joyner Road, 1527 Joyner Road, 1535, 41 Joyner Road. And this is a request and recommendation to annex an assigned land use classification of urban edge residential small lot, UER1, and assign a zoning single-family residential district, RS2. The property is currently classified as neighborhood medium density and so single-family residential medium density in Richland County. And I believe the applicant is present and can explain their annexation.
Are there any questions from the commission members to staff at first? Would the applicant like to come forward?
Yes, the applicant is not present. But at this point, this is a request to annex this property into the city. There is a site plan that has been approved outside of the county, which it was approved in Richland County. So this is just the annexation portion at this time.
Well, I'd like to call for a motion.
I move that we approve the request for annexation for the properties.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
All right, that's going to bring us to the site plan review for 162 plus or minus acres at 300 Clemson Road, which is the Ashcroft subdivision. This property was recently annexed into the city. The piece that's north of Clemson Road that is shown kind of near the corner of Earth Road and Clemson Road was just the piece that was discussed during the consent agenda. This request is for a cluster housing development. It will contain, I believe, 607 units, 511 detached single-family residential structures, along with 96 attached townhome residential units. There is the staff recommendation from the fire department has requested a deferral with regards to asking the applicant to provide a third means of emergency ingress and egress into the site. And I believe the applicant can speak to that once they come forward.
Okay. Any questions for staff first? Would the applicant like to come forward?
Good afternoon. I'm Bill Dixon with Mungo Homes. We've reviewed all of the staff comments on the report and are able to comply with all of them. I would request, if this is possible, for Planning Commission to approve this subject to compliance with all the staff conditions in the report.
Any questions?
Does that include the additional egress?
It does, yes.
I got a question. Have you spoken to the fire chief to decide, think about what the emergency?
He and I have emailed back and forth, Mr. George Adams. He and I have emailed back and forth. We've also been in contact with the permitting office of SEDOT on a location on Spears Creek Church Road, which is just a few hundred feet from the fire station.
So you're saying that you could meet all staff recommendations?
Correct, yes.
So you're asking that we move forward so that you
Subject to meeting all of those conditions.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Are you comfortable with that?
We are.
Okay. I would like to ask for a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion for site plan review at 300 Clemson Road, also approval with staff conditions.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion's approved. So we go to number 7.
All right, that's going to bring us to item number 7, which is a minor amendment to a planned unit development at 501 Beltline Boulevard and 0.26 east, 0.26 acres the east side of Beltline Boulevard, TMS number 13810-01-07 and 13810-0106. And this is a request for a minor amendment. This PUD was approved some time ago, and there was a tree that was required to be preserved. That tree was removed, And in lieu of that, the applicant is proposing to install 3-inch caliper trees versus 2-inch caliper trees. The rest of the development would stay the same except for that the increase in tree caliper. There is also a letter of opposition. I believe you have a copy of it, but we want to make sure that we put it into the record as an exhibit, Exhibit A. And it's an email from Valerie Marcel to Rachel Bailey, dated Monday, July 1st at 5:44 p.m., and it is a letter of opposition. And the applicant is present and can explain their case.
Any questions for staff first? Would the applicant like to come forward?
Commission members, my name is Harold Pickerel. I own the company that owns that property. In the process of demoing the building and grading the property out, because it was a fairly large hill there that we had to take down 5 or 6 feet. Contractor took down a 26-inch pine tree by mistake. Ironically, he left 4 or 5 pine trees there that were supposed to come down. So it's down. There's not a lot we can do about it other than offer to upgrade our landscaping by going to the larger caliper trees. So that's what we've done.
So there, go ahead. Go ahead. So there's been one tree taken down.
One 26-inch pine tree that was supposed to be left.
When did that happen?
4 weeks ago, something like that.
That was recent.
Oh, yes, ma'am. We were in the process of demoing. There was an old duplex there. We tore it down. We've got a new site plan that was approved, putting 8 brand-new townhomes there. And, he was grading it out. There's a retaining wall that goes across that property line on the back, and he was taking out the trees that needed to come out to do that, and inadvertently took down a tree that was not supposed to be taken down.
Was the tree marked at all?
No. And honestly, it's a 26-inch pine tree. It's not a grand tree. If it would have been a big oak tree, I would totally get that, but it's not by city standards. It's not a grand tree, so it was a mistake on his part, and, so we're trying to go back with something better than a pine tree, and we will.
I guess it's unfortunate that Ms. Marcel, who has written this letter, is not here to address this, but one of the things that she notes is that there were a number of trees that have been cut down over the time since this PUD was approved, including a magnolia, and she has photographs of that, which she did not attach.
Well, we took down what was allowed to be taken down under the site plan that was approved. If you look at the picture there, one of those lots, there's no trees on it whatsoever. There was a few trees right by the duplex that was there that we took down, so the whole site didn't have 10, 12 trees on it. I mean, you can see it right there.
I have a question. One of Mr. Marcel's concerns was that what you planned on for the trees is too much for the property that you're doing, that they won't thrive. Have you looked at that to make sure that the trees will thrive, or what that you're putting in?
Yes, ma'am, and I read her letter. When I spoke with Mr. Chambers and agreed to upgrade the landscaping, put in larger trees, mentioned putting in some magnolias or live oaks. I read where she said one live oak would take up that entire site. It would have to be 200 years old. But, that's not correct. I do a good bit of development in the city of Columbia, and I think our landscaping speaks for itself, so we'll put back what has got its best chance of living there. If it's magnolias, great. If it's live oaks, great, but it would take, literally none of us will be alive by the time a live oak gets to be big enough to envelop that site. It's just not going to happen. They are difficult trees to grow, but we also mentioned magnolias, any kind of evergreen tree along that back property line, which is where it goes.
approved under certain circumstances, and a PUD is a very specific approval. And this, it sounds like it was inadvertent, but it nevertheless is something that is, that does negate the terms of the PUD. So, I don't, staff is approving this change, or suggesting approval for this change.
Yes.
Yes.
I guess, I mean, I understand. It's just, it's a little bit of a struggle because that idea that if something is approved under certain circumstances, the idea that accidents happen, that's also understood. And you had approval for a very specific thing. So,
Did you get the PUD approved? So, you weren't the person who applied for the PUDs 12 years ago, were you?
No, I bought the property
Okay.
after the PUD was approved. PUD's been approved for quite some number of years.
The land development planner, when this initially came up and we notified the developer of the situation, they immediately stopped work and started trying to come up with solutions. The land development planner has reviewed their proposal to increase the tree caliper from 2.5 to 3, and he feels that it is sufficient to contain on the site.
so one other thing, you contacted the developer that had happened. The developer didn't contact you after that happened. Is that the way it went?
We were made aware that there was just grading on the site and people just inquiring as to kind of what was being developed. And when we went out there, we determined that the tree had been removed. Contacted the developer, and the developer, as he said, he purchased the PUD, bought the property, and I'm not sure as to the PUD is very specific where it says that the tree has to be preserved, but it's when you look at it, you have to really determine that tree had to be there because other trees on the site could have been removed, as he stated.
I've got a question for staff. We are assuming that this tree removal company is a licensed company with the City of Columbia. Is that correct?
I'm not sure there was a tree removal company. I believe it happened with the grading. When they did the grading.
Great. So whoever was doing the job was licensed by the City of Columbia. Is that correct?
Yes.
So have there been any other incidents with this same company in the past? And is there any way to avoid it in the future by issuing them a warning of some kind?
We
Probably not.
Yeah, we have spoken to them about the situation, and again, they immediately agreed to stop work. They haven't done any work since we've been in contact with them. We went out there, looked at the site. The developer has again agreed to kind of work with us regarding getting it resolved. They didn't say, well, can we go ahead and continue to build this building and deal with that tree? They just totally stopped cold turkey until we work this out. And again, the land development planner has reviewed the increase in caliper.
I don't recall ever approving a PUD since we've been here that is tied to a tree. How often has the city approved PUDs that have specific trees that need to be preserved or that was offered in the PUD process?
This PUD was approved in 2007. They used to be a lot more specific, and if neighborhood opposition or if there was just something hanging up approvals, that was often thrown into those early 2000 PUDs.
Right.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. Would anyone else like to come forward? Not, I'd like to call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the minor amendment as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion's approved. We have one more item, if I'm not mistaken, to approve the minutes.
That's going to bring us to the,
Amend
motion to amend the previous approved minutes, May 6th, and I believe Ms. Wolf is going to come up and speak to that. Or
We found that there was an error and some formatting discrepancies in the May minutes. So we would like the commission to make a motion to amend something previously approved. You had approved the minutes so that we can have the correct information there. Some of the information merged from a prior month. That's for the May 6th, 2019 meeting minutes that were approved at the June 3rd meeting. If you could just make a motion to approve those, we can go ahead and take the corrected minutes, and they will be posted, and it will be approved.
You want an approval of amended minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the amended minutes of May 6th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you.
I think since there's no other business, I'll call for an adjournment.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.